My name is Jack Sim. I'm the founder of the World Toilet Organization and also the BOP Hub. When I was 59 years old, I went to take a scholarship at Singularity University in NASA campus in Silicon Valley. Public policy, technology, growing up poor, learning commercial business, social business, and it gave me a 360-degree dimension of handling problems. I'm 67, I'm going to die around 80, I've got 4,600 over days. So why do I want to go and waste my time on hopeless situation? My mission is to use up the time that I have been allocated before I die, which I think is around 80 plus, and to use this time to the maximum impact of humanity. I think the next phase is teaching. I will be traveling around the world teaching. I don't belong to any religious group. If there's a religion, I believe in humanity. But I also believe that every religion, mainstream religion, is correct. Because if it's not correct, then they wouldn't believe it, right? So you have to be allowed to believe in what you believe, and you are correct, and they are also correct. As long as you don't tell them to follow you and they don't tell you to convert and follow them, then we are all correct. And if everyone is correct, there is no reason to fight. I believe that there is a kind of energy that balance everything. I don't think this concept of evil exists.
You don't think this?
I think it is a balancing. God balanced so that everything survive, everything coexists, there is synergies, and when everything takes care of everything else, it is love. And I think we can all live harmoniously together. The lesson we can draw is how the forests live harmoniously together. Each species of plant compete for sunlight, for water, for nutrients of the soil. And they compete, and then the one that grow tall shade the one that don't need so much sunlight. And then the crop help the animal eat. And then the poop of the animal help fertilize the crop. And if we learn from the forest that some carnivorous animal eat the herbivorous animal, that is to control the population so that there is no overgrazing. And what are we seeking in nature? It's not tiger win or elephant win and the mouse deer lose. No, we are seeking balance. So if we look at the world for balance, for harmony, actually, it's actually very sustainable. The World Toilet Organization takes a neglected taboo subject called shit, toilet. People are very afraid to talk about something that is naturally happening to them every day. Actually, it's just a digestive process, but they found it very incompatible to their persona and image, and so they don't talk about toilet. And at that time, when I first started the World Toilet Organization, 2.5 billion people don't even have a toilet. That's 40% of the world population, but they don't want to talk about it because they think it is embarrassing. But if you don't talk about it, then you have an accumulated problem that is unsolved. Over the last 20 years, the world population has grown by 2 billion people. And the number of people who don't have access to proper sanitation has dropped by 600 million. So if you can say, last 20 years, because we have created this World Toilet movement, 2.6 billion people, new people, has gained access to proper sanitation, right? Out of which half would not have got toilet if not because we are now talking about toilet in a legitimate way. Otherwise, we will still call it a water issue, which means all the money, funding goes to water, drinking water, agricultural water, and not to sanitation. Now, sanitation has become a normal subject. This is our achievement. I think our most successful asset is that we are great storyteller, and when we tell the story, the whole world listen, to the extent that the politicians use our story that drive demand for toilet to promise people toilet and win election. So Prime Minister Modi won landslide victory, promising toilet. So we have a general manager who now lives in Dubai. Then we have her assistant who now lives in Bangalore. And we have a Singaporean part-time person to watch the governance and the compliance and the bookkeeping, but we have so little money, there's not much to bookkeep. Yeah, so basically that is the skeleton that we work on, and myself, I work for free. First, it is easier to succeed when you are doing something nobody wants to do. Because if nobody wants to do, then you become the authority. So when I take toilet, nobody wants to do, so I became the authority because nobody else is talking about it as a focus, as a main focus. I think to be successful, you have to think about the mission, you look at the problem, and you keep on focusing on the solution to the problems. The problems itself, if it's bigger, then you have a bigger opportunity to solve. If it's too small, it's not worth it. So if you look at the problem all the time and gather the rest of the world people, talent, technology, funder, public policy, government, media, academia, researcher, interns, to solve this problem together, then it's much easier, because if you solve it yourself, your resource is limited. But if everyone solves it, then the resources is unlimited. You have to become an orchestrator, facilitating other people's success. And if it's their success, not your success, then the mission will be successful. But if you are serving them, if you are facilitating their success, of course they like you. Especially when you work for free. If you charge them, then you become a consultant, then they can't afford you. But if you are not charging them, but working for free to help them with their mission aligned to the mission of other people, then collectively all this little selfishness becomes selflessness. And that is the secret of success. Mutually exploiting each other become collaboration. And the collective collaboration become an ecosystem and become selflessness. The BOP Hub idea is still quite new. Even larger scope of work, how to end poverty for all the 4 billion people. Right now they're just relying on donation, philanthropy, foreign aid. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem has to be solved by business. The only way, and every country who get out of poverty because there is an economic multiplier that is going on. So the BOP Hub idea is how to replicate the Singapore success story from third world to first world to every other country, either fully or in part, but mostly adaptively adjusting to their local situation. To do that, you have to value add on the agricultural produce, you have to value add on their labor, you have to create more high income skills, and you have to get them access to investment, access to customer, access to technology, access to training and business model. And we have ITE in Singapore, we can train people. We can also help them by arranging other countries' people to help them. Yes, since 2006 I was inducted into the Social Entrepreneurs Schwab Foundation group under the World Economic Forum. In fact, I became a member because I became the first Social Entrepreneur of the Year in Singapore, 2006.
WTO?
Yes, with the World Toilet Organization. I'm lucky enough to be able to have the privilege to work for free, so I should address those subjects that nobody wants to address, like training the poor to be self-sufficient and talking about toilets and sanitation. Because all the other agenda that are funded, they are good, but the neglected ones are the most important. So in the beginning, I pay from my own pocket, so I have some money because I'm quite lucky in business. So I bought some houses, I collect rent, and I have some savings. So in the initial years, I pay to do my work. I work for free, but I pay. And after a while, you gain a certain reputation and usefulness. Then there are people who pay to support our organization. However, you know, sponsorship, donation, partnership, it comes in all kinds, and it's not always certain. So we stay very frugal and kept only one full-time staff and one part-time staff. You know, if you stay frugal and use this core staff to leverage on all the other volunteers and partnership, then the external resources are free of charge. You don't have to raise funds for it. A lot of NGOs started wanting to help others, but they relapse into survival mode because after a while they grew too big, they got salary to pay, they cannot survive. So they start to check, request for proposal everywhere, and some people who are doing sanitation or water start to switch to carbon credit and climate change, because now climate change got a lot of funding and they abandon what they originally do. And a lot of people give up their mission, and now I'm so worried because all the money go to climate change, and it is now as if there is no poverty problem, there's no water problem, there's no educational problem, there's no other kind of problem. And people are starting to do what, you know? They are saying family violence and climate change, terrorism and climate change. Then I say, hey, how is it related? Why don't you just do your family violence work? Say, no, if I just say family violence, nobody will fund me. So I have to add the word climate change into it. I say, but what's the relationship? Yeah lah, because the weather is very hot. The husband get angry, so he beat his wife. You see climate change? I say, it's nonsense lah. You are having a mission drift, you know. Mission drift. Mission drift. So can you imagine so many NGO all shifting to climate change, not because climate change is important, it is important, but because they're going there because there is money. Then who is going to handle? There will be more and more neglected agenda. I've just written an autobiography for Penguin Random House. It will come out in August this year, and it captures the whole journey from childhood, how I grew up in poverty and do business and change the world, and also lessons about gumption, about having the courage to defy the odds, to go and do something and following your heart.